Hello, hi, welcome to HTML tutorials Kasatswana. My name is Godfrey Mo, and in the previous lesson we talked about making this into an HTML page or an HTML website using CSS and HTML. So as a continuation, I've just added this link which is a link to our main.css style sheet. Alright, so that remember HTML will tell you what to put on the browser, and then CSS will tell you how to put it there in terms of color, size, weight, height, and everything. That is the difference between the two. Alright, so I'm gonna have to work on my main item. So I'm gonna take all these classes. Class wrapper, class main, header, logo, nav, and then I'm gonna give them all a border so that we can see them and then work with them better. Alright, so I'm gonna be typing a little bit faster, but you can always pause the movie if I'm too fast. I'm gonna have wrapper with a border 1 pixel solid red. That's just the border, and I'm going to save that as main 1.css. okay, let it replace that. And then it's gonna have a red border. Alright, once again, that has nothing to do with politics. And then I'm gonna go to another class, main, which will also have a border 1 pixel solid blue. I'm gonna give them different colors so that we can easily distinguish between them. And I'm gonna have a nav element. My nav element, I wanted to have a border as well. So no, let me just copy this. Let me just copy that. And then after my nav element, what else do I have? I have my header, logo, my header. Okay, so I've just pasted that in so that we don't take too much time, but you guys can copy this, can pause the movie and then copy this. And then after doing that, let's hit the browser and reload, and I see nothing happens. Why? Let me quickly debug that. Oh, that is because I'm referencing main.css, but my CSS is called main1.css. Right, so do that, you quickly hit reload. You see, you get all this jungled up thingy here. That is because everything here has a border, but nothing here has a height nor a width. So everything gets jungled up right here. There's nothing wrong with your CSS, with your HTML. The problem is with the CSS. Remember, now there's these things to display, but you haven't told it how to display them. Remember when we were talking about height and width, we said if an element or a div does not have a height nor a width, it will take this whole length and then the height will not be there, it will be 0. So that is why that looks like one long black line with red and blue on it. So it doesn't take much to debug that. Let's just give everything a border and then we will work better. So I'm gonna give this, which is the main, remember it is the wrapper here, and then it is the wrapper here. I'm gonna give that a height, give it a height. Let me estimate 700 pixels, and then main, which is this, I will give it a height as well. I'll estimate that to be, if that's 700, taking in account the border, I'll make that to be 690 pixels. And then the header, remember it's this part, the part that contains the company logo and the navigation. So I'm gonna estimate that to be, I could just come to Photoshop and then get the actual sizes, but remember I'm just trying to show you how to work with the 5 basic elements: margin, padding, float, height, and width. So I'm just gonna estimate this height to be, let me think, maybe 70 pixels. Height 70 pixels. And then nav is this part, so I'm gonna estimate that to be height, let me just probably give it 40 pixels. and then logo would be that part. I'll estimate the same. Height would be about 40 pixels as well. And then main content, which is the part that contains this this white main content area, and then this white aside. Alright, so I would estimate that to have a height of about, if the whole thing is 700, I would give it about 500 pixels. Alright, and then aside, which is this one, let me give them the same height so that they stay on the same plane and on the same level, the same way they do here. So I'm going to give them the same height. And then the footer is this little part that contains the copyright part, so I would give that a height, probably let's make it 50 pixels, and then hit the browser and then see what happens to this jungle. Oh, see, now it looks a little bit better. You can tell now that this is the part that contains the let me show you on the image. This is the company logo, this is the about us, the home, the gallery, and then this would be the main content area. So everything seems to be there, everything seems to be right. But then now notice how it's not really in its place. So I'm going to use the 5 basic elements. Remember, margin, padding, float, height, and width to achieve this structure. So bear that in mind as we move on. Let me come here. So what do I want to do right now? I think the header is a little bit short, so I'm gonna give the header a little bit of room, 200 pixels, and then contents of the header are the nav and the logo. So I'm gonna give logo now a width. Remember, they did not have a width, so I'm gonna give them a width. They do not have a width, that is why they are similar from here to there. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm gonna give them a width, let me say 400 pixels, just an estimate, and then give logo a width, give nav a width as well. Nav is that part. Okay, cool. So now so that you see the difference, exactly what happened, I'm gonna give them a background as well. I don't really need it, but I'm gonna give them a white and then a green background. Green again. I'm gonna give them a green background so that you can see and follow along. What is what? Hit refresh. Now this is the logo and the navigation area. Okay, so I just increased this part, which is the header, which is this part. I just increased it, that is why it is this big. So you see that instead of them one floating to the left and one to the right, one is on top of the other. So I'm gonna employ floats. I'm gonna use floats here. Float. This is what logo I wanted to float to the left, and I want to float my nav to the right, like that. Float this to the left and then float this off to the right. Come back here, hit refresh. Bang, that looks good now, doesn't it? And then right away I can tell that this nav is a little bit bigger than the client wanted. So I'm gonna take it from 200 pixels, maybe just back to 100 pixels. Alright, and then come back here, hit refresh. Bang, now that looks a little bit better. That is gonna be the logo, that is gonna be the navigation. Okay, so let's move on to the next. The next element we're going to be working on is this, the main content. Now the main content area, what do I want to do? I want to put these, the length, yeah, the main content area. Get out the width. Actually, I'm going to give them a width. What am I doing? I'm going to give them a width. Let's say, let me estimate probably from here to here. The width would be, since the whole thing is 960, let me give the whole wrapper a width. Yeah, the wrapper is the one at the back. Let me give them, let's give the main a width. Main, God, what am I doing? give main a width of 960 pixels. Alright, and then come back here, see if I didn't. Yes, everything is fine, everything is right with 960 pixels. So if that is 960, if the distance from here to here is 960, I'd say from here to here maybe should be about 500. So I'd make it, but I don't want it to be a square. See that this is 500, so it's gonna be a square. Let me make it a bit of a rectangle. So I'm gonna give it a height of 4 instead, and then to keep it as a rectangle, I give this one 500 pixels. Come back here, hit refresh. See, I haven't really killed anything. Cool. But now this line here is actually this aside. It does not have a width, so it just takes up the whole space from here to here. That is why it appears out of place like that. All I need to do to fix it is give it a width. Always keep the image close. I'm gonna give this, which is the side, a width, and if this is 500, and then this will probably be, let me make it 200. 2 plus 5 is 7. Remember, the whole area is 9, so yeah, it's just about close. 200 pixels worth of width, and then come back here, hit refresh, and then bam, there we go. Oh, it's actually the one at the bottom. Okay, now you see, again, I'm gonna need floats, because instead of it being here, it stays at the bottom. That's because they're not floated together. They are on the flow of the document. They have to come one after the other. Now I want them to float one next to the other, right? So I'm gonna float one off to the right, which should be their side. The main content is gonna be floating to the left one. Alright, cool, like that. So this is that, this is that. Let me quickly find out what this is, because I don't know why it's killing my flow. And then cool, and where's the footer? Let me give footer a background. I don't know where it went. I got it in here late, so let me give it red. I'm trying to find footer. Oh, footer is down there. Okay, the footer is right in place. There's the red thing down there. I'm trying to find out where this is, because it is killing the flow of my document. So it's not the footer. Let me cut that off. Oh, I found what it is. It is the content. I think, let me give it a red so that I see. Yes, this is the content. So content is small. Notice how content has only 40 pixels worth of height, but it is containing logo, which is which has a height. No, it does not contain logo. It contains a side which is a height of 500 pixels, right? So this little red thing is supposed to contain this huge white thing, so that is why it flows, it spills outside the flow. All right, so I can quickly fix that by giving content. Let me remove the red, I don't need it anymore. By giving content a longer width, let me say 600 pixels, like that. Okay, now you see it's not gone, but it's somewhere down here. It now contains its elements. All right, cool. So now let's move on. We're still getting closer to achieving this image. Let me see where we are right now. This is this, that is that. Okay, notice how this part, which we call wrapper, is actually in the center of the browser window. The space on the right is equal to the space on the left. So it is not the case with ours. It seems to have been pushed off to the left. So how do we do that? We use margins. Remember, I told you margins are going to come in handy. I said margin is the distance or the space outside this element. So I want this space from here to here to be equal to the space from this side to wherever it's going to end, right? So how do I do that? Let's go, let me demonstrate. I'm going to use margins. That area is called the main. I'm going to give main a margin. margin. And remember, I don't need to specify all the 4, I can just specify 1, and it's going to apply to all the items that are concerned with it. So if I say 20 pixels worth of margin, look what happens. It is not centered. What I need to do is make sure that margin left is equal to margin right, okay? And then margin top has to be, I want it to be 0 because I want it to touch the top and the bottom. So how do I don't need a ruler to measure the distance. What I do is I give it 2 values. Let's say I want it to be 0 at the top. Remember, it starts from the top, and then on the sides I want it to be auto. Alright, auto means be equal, right? So remember, margin, if you put 2 values, the first one is going to be for the top and the bottom. So the top and the bottom should be 0, and then the left and the right should be auto. Auto means it should be equal. The left has to be equal to the right, so automatically this is going to be taken to the top, and then this one to the right, and leaving the space on the left and the right equal. I hope I make sense. If I don't make sense, go back to a previous video where I was talking about margins, or just reverse this video and then work on it. So now we are getting closer to achieving this final output. So what else do we need to work on now? We have this and this that are floating right. Okay, so we need to fix this little part here, fix the footer, and then we'll be close to where we want to get. Okay, alright, so let me give them background so that I can see where what is where. I'm gonna give footer a background. I don't know where it is. I'm gonna give footer a background, make it red, refresh. That is where the footer is. Okay, it's somewhere down there and it's right. Okay, it seems to be conflicting with container in terms of height and everything. So let me come back here, and I'm gonna give, I don't know what that thing is. It's disturbing this. It's not aside. It's not, might be main content. Let me check where main content is. Make it black. Let me check where main content. No, not that main content. Good God. I want to check where the content wrapper is. This is where it is. Okay, so that's fine. I wonder what this red line is. That is what I'm trying to find out. Okay, found the problem. The main wrapper is only 700 pixels, but that is way shorter than its contents. That is why it seems to be spelling out here. Well, now we can tell that the footer is outside the main wrapper. So I need to increase the width, the height, the main wrapper. I took it up to, let me make it 800. Okay, it is 800. Refresh, and then there you go. Now you see that the footer is within this main wrapper. That's good. That's good, coming up well. But I think 800 is a bit too big, so I'm gonna make it 750. 750 might work better. Who knows? There we go. Looks a little bit better. Okay, cool. So now you see that this is very close to this. Now we're getting there, but I can notice that this part is equal to this part in terms of height, but here I seem to have conflicting values. So I'm gonna come back here, and then I work on my aside. Aside is height 500 pixels, and then main content height is 400 pixels. Okay, that's why. So I'm going to, let me decrease that. Should I decrease the side? Let me decrease that to 400 then, and then refresh, and then now there we go. But then if I look, there's a bit too much room here. I wonder how short these little spaces, but then look at mine, it's just too big. Plus that space, there's space between this navigation area container and this these two, the aside and the main content area. So what do I need to do? I need to increase. I could simply use margin again. Remember I talked about a 5 major: margin, pattern, float, height, and width. So I'm going to increase a bit of margin between this part, which contains the UL and the logo, and this part that contains the main content. So I'm gonna work on the padding actually. Yeah, the content padding top. Now this is where you might need to use only one of the padding. Okay, let's go padding top. Padding top 20 pixels. What I'm saying is from the top of this content area, there should be 20 pixels worth of space between its content. Alright, I'm not saying margin, I'm not saying outside, I'm saying inside of it there should be 20 pixels. Let me hit refresh. You see now the distance from here to here is 20 pixels. That is what I said, that is padding. It is not the distance from here to here. No, that would be margin for this main content container. The actual thing, what happened is padding, which is from here down to here. The thing that is pushing is the main content. It is the one that is pushing the main content box and their side box down. Alright, that is why they are both pushed down. None of them is pushing up, they are just being pushed down. That is exactly what happened. Alright, I think that's still a bit too short of a space, but it's almost there. It's almost, so let me take it from 20 to maybe 30. Yeah, that looks kind of right. So now we are talking, and I think right away by looking at this I can tell that the main content area is a bit too big as well, so I need to take it back up a little bit. So the main content area, which is this content, I'm gonna go with a height of maybe 500 pixels and then hit refresh. Still a bit too long. Make it, I don't know if 4 would do. 4 seems a bit too short. Okay, 400 doesn't look too bad, does look close to the replica. Okay, cool, so that's good. And then I would need to decrease this obviously, which is the wrapper. Now the main wrapper from 690 maybe 600. Okay, cool. Now that looks better. Now that looks better, doesn't it? And then now I want to work on the space between this and this. I want to reduce the space, and the best way to do that, I think it will be with Firebug and Mozilla Firefox. Let me quickly dash to it and show you exactly what I mean. Open up my layer 2, pick and drag, copy, take this. Okay, now here we are. Cool. And then with Mozilla Firebug, you might want to download this. Believe you me, it's gonna make your life easy as a programmer. So what I want to do is reduce this space, right? I go to my style editor, and then I know I want to work on the main content area. I said the width, the height and the width should be 500 pixels, but what if I want the width to be in percentages? It'll work better in percentages. Let's say I wanted to occupy 80% of the whole area that houses it. The whole area that is housing main content is this area, which is from here, this little brown thing, down to here, just before the footer here. That is the area that is housing this white space, right, as denoted by our Notepad++. Remember, everything is taken from here. So this white space here is this div class. Remember, that is this div class. So this div class is within this content. It is with a side as well. Now, so if we say it should occupy 80% of its parent's container, which is saying is it should occupy 80% of content. All right, so I hope you get that. So I think 80% was a bit too big. It did not leave enough room for their side. That is why that side seems to be pushed back. But the reason why I use Firebug is you can see changes happening in real, like almost real time. Yet I said 80 is a bit too big. If I take it to 70, just like that, it changes. You see, that's why I like Firebug on Firefox. So make it 75. I think 75 does win, doesn't it? Yeah, 75 does win. And then percentage, let me use percentages as well for that side. So now it's just mathematics. I said main content should occupy 75% of whatever space is available, right? So automatically that leaves only 25% for that side, doesn't it? Yes, so I could come back here and say we're now occupy 25% of their side, but still it spills out. Why? Good, that's a good question. The reason why it spills out is because there's a 1 pixel solid worth of border, so it caters for that as well. It takes up part of the space, so I need to make this maybe 24, and then it will work better. You see, you need to cater for the margins and your paddings and everything. So let me make this 74 and then maybe 73, and then just make it 70. I think the space is not enough. 72. Good. Now it seems to be coming up right. And then let me browse it on Firefox, refresh on, yeah, you see, now that looks good, doesn't it? And now the use of percentages is good because you don't have to do much thinking. You don't really know how much space this is. All you need to do is just, I want you to be on 10% of whatever the space is. You don't really care how much the space is. If it's 200 pixels, just be on 10% of 200 pixels. And that way, if that 200 pixels decrease to 100 pixels, the element will still be on 80% because you said 80% of the container. So if the container reduces, you don't have to worry about having to reduce the child container as well. You see, so it can automatically be reduced without any errors in your application. So now that we've taken care of that, let's go back to our map and see what we need to do. Now what we need to do is probably the writing and the coloring. And I think for the color I need to let me just go get that from PS. That way it would be easier. I'll go, let me take this red one. I'm gonna take the color code. That is what I'm gonna give to wrapper. So wrapper should have, actually I'm gonna get rid of the borders now because I don't need the borders. What I need is now the background, The background will have that color. That is for wrapper. And then when I come back here for head, the background would be that color. Let me copy it, bring it back this side. Where's header? Here's header. I don't need the border anymore. Now I need the background like that, and then paste that in. Let me see if I'm doing the right thing here. Refresh. Okay, cool. Now that's sweet. It's taking up the right colors. I'm gonna have to put all these colors in. Okay, now after putting all the colors in, I've noticed that the footer is not actually where we think it is. It's not here. So the footer is actually should actually be inside the main content, the content area, not outside like you see. But I want it to end just here. So I'm gonna have to put it inside the main content area so that it only takes this length. This is what I mean. So I'm gonna have to take it from this wrapper div. This is the main wrapper div, the red one that is outside. That is why I felt like a. So I'm gonna take it from here. I'm gonna cut it out. I'm gonna act like it's scamming my hair, and then I paste it here, and then main. Yeah, now it is within the main. Let me hit refresh, and then bang, there it goes. This is exactly where the footer is supposed to be. Right? Cool. So now that looks awesome. It looks a lot like what our customer wanted. Alright? Cool. Now this having been done, in the next tutorials we'll be inserting this company logo, and then this home gallery about us. Actually, the navigation, we'll make a navigation using the UL and ULI text.